Hi guys, and welcome to Sister's Kitchen. Today we're going to be making Gyoza style beef dumplings. If you're ready, let's get started. You will need beef, Chinese cabbage, shiitake, cornstarch, gyoza leaves, chili of your choice, garlic, ginger, spring onion, mirin, rice vinegar, oyster sauce, sesame oil, soy sauce, some bowls to mix your ingredients in, baking paper, containers to put your gyoza in, a spatula, tongs, a pan with a lid, a timer, cup to measure your water in, sesame oil, and peanut oil. First, we're going to do our cabbage, so we're just going to take some leaves off and cut the middle bit out because that's really hard and bitter. And what I like to do is I like to stack my leaves so that they're easier to chop up later. How fine you cut it is up to you. I like to have it really fine though so that it mixes really well with the meat. How much cabbage you cut is also up to you. Some people like to do 50 cabbage, 50 meat, but that's your choice. Then we're going to work with our shiitake, and we can just pop the middle bit out like this. Then slice it, and the reason we add shiitake to our meat is that it sort of has a bit of a spongy texture, and it really just sort of builds into that flavor and the texture of it all. I like to cut it into really tiny bits as well, but you can do it however you like. Now some spring onion. I like to peel the outside off and then chop it, and we add the spring onion because that gives it a little bit of an oniony taste, and it also just balances the flavors really well. Now for some garlic, I always pop the middle bit out because I think that that's a little bit bitter, and what I like to do is just cut it really, really finely so that you don't end up biting into chunks of garlic when you make your dumplings. When it comes to chili, you don't have to add any, but I find that I really like the spicy flavor to it, and so I cut it really, really small so that it blends really well and you don't end up with sort of one gyoza that's really spicy and then one that isn't. So just be really careful with this. Time for some ginger. Now you just want to cut the outside off of it first. And what I like to do is slice it into little bits like this, and then I stack them and slice it into strips, and then I can sort of chop that, and I find that that's just a lot easier, especially if you don't have a lot of sharp knives. So now we're going to work on our beef, and what I like to do is blot it dry first before I work with it. Then I cut a chunk off, turn it on its side, and slice so that I'm cutting against the grain. Once we're done with that, I like to stack my meat and then cut it into strips so that afterwards I can turn it on its side like this and then just cut it into little chunks. And this will give us a texture that's different from ground beef and still full of flavor. So now we're going to work on our filling, and we're going to just add some cabbage and shiitake to it. You can decide how much of everything you want. And then we're just going to add some garlic and some ginger and some chili and some spring onion, and you just want to add it enough that you can kind of smell the aromas when you lean into it. You can see here sort of roughly how much I've added of everything. And what we're going to do is add a little bit of soy sauce, about 2 tablespoons. Some rice vinegar just to balance flavors, some sesame oil to add some fattiness, a little bit of mirin to give that sweet flavor, and a little bit of oyster sauce just to give it its own sort of flavor to it. Then we're going to add some cornstarch so that when it sits, it doesn't end up having a lot of sort of juice at the bottom of the bowl overnight. Once we're done with that, we're going to wrap it up and put it in the fridge and leave it overnight. When we're ready to fold our gyoza, we want to make sure that we thaw our leaves. And now we're just going to check on our meat to make sure it's not too wet. And here you can see that everything is mixed together quite nicely. So when it comes to folding our gyoza, we're just going to put a bit of meat in the center. Then we're going to wet the sort of farther half. And we're going to pinch up in the middle. We don't have to touch our meat. All we have to do is fold the gyoza leaf towards one side, and then towards the other side. And by folding it in this way, the meat will slowly find its way towards the middle of the dumpling, and you don't have to overwork it. So So this might take a while depending on how much meat you have, so I'd say get comfortable, put a movie on, and good luck! Now I just want to show you how I store my gyoza because I like to freeze them. I just use sort of baking paper and Tupperware containers, and I make sure that I put baking paper in between all of the gyoza and in between the layers, because if you freeze them, they will stick together. So when we're ready to cook, we're just going to put some peanut oil in our pan and turn it on a high flame. Once the oil's hot, we can just put our gyoza in the pan and turn it on for 3 minutes. Once that's done, we can put about a cup of water in our pan, put the lid on, and cook that for 10 minutes. After we've done that, we take the lid off, add some sesame oil, and let them fry for another 3 minutes. And once that's done, our gyoza are ready to be served. So here are our gyoza. They're soft in the center, but they've got a sort of crunchy bottom, and they're just my favorite things to eat when I'm feeling lazy. Thanks for joining me at Sister's Kitchen, and I hope to see you guys back soon.